Welcome to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Madden. I've been an amazing 35 years in the elevator industry, and now I'm ready to pay my knowledge forward. Let's dive right in. Welcome to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. I have a really good guy here, Chuck Tyler. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Chuck, give us a little bit of your professional background and how you got in the elevator industry.
Well, my dad was an elevator guy, got into the business right out of Vietnam in the early 70s. So I was born into the elevator business, or almost born into the elevator business. A few months after I was born, he started working for Otis, and then went to work for Miami Elevator Company, where he spent the majority of his career. When I was a teenager, we moved out to Arizona. He had an opportunity to run the office out there, and that's where I got in the business and the helper in the field. Worked my way through apprenticeship and then got an opportunity to go into the office and kind of worked my way through the Thyssen organization for about 30 years and left there and have had the opportunity to work for an independent elevator company running service, modernization, and construction. There went to Vantage. That was a neat experience. Got to learn a lot about the vendor side of the business. And for about the last year, I've been at Phoenix Modular Elevator trying to grow our business a bit.
That's awesome, Chuck. That's a pretty diverse background of experience. It's probably serves you real well at Phoenix Modular.
It's really great. I was raised in the old Thyssen Miami elevator regime, managed like you own it, an entrepreneurial spirit. And I don't think we really understood what that meant back then, but I certainly get the idea now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard a lot of that over the years. Work like you're an entrepreneur. And I think a lot of people have that spirit of working like entrepreneurs, but they don't really realize they're doing it because they're just owning what they do and caring about it, trying to make a difference. So it's always great to hear those stories and great to connect that piece of the puzzle. Appreciate that. So today we want to talk a little bit about the industry, a little bit about the challenges out there, or maybe a specific challenge you're facing. What's something you're seeing that you're facing today?
The instability in the market with the fears of tariffs, not knowing what's coming. I think it's got everybody in the industry a bit on edge, right? We're all trying to grow, but aggressive pricing is a bit nerve-wracking right now with the impending tariffs. I think that's probably the biggest challenge that we face. As I mentioned to you offline, we are trying to grow. That's our number one focus, is to grow. And in order to do that, pricing is always a big piece of that. So that uncertainty really just makes things a bit nerve-wracking for sure.
100%. And I've heard a lot of talk about tariffs. I've talked to a lot of elevator entrepreneurs about this. Obviously, it's a concern in our industry. It's a concern in all industries. But one of the challenges that I wonder is, as a vendor and a supplier like you're in, you have a lot of uncertainty that you can't really control. So you bid a job based on what you know today, and then that job gets accepted, say 30 days, 60 days, 90 days down the road. How do you control or manage that unexpected change?
Well, I think that's the nervous part, right? We've always hold our quotes for 60, 90 days. And in today's world, that's just not possible because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, more or less next week or next month. So I think we have to protect ourselves with our quotes. I think we have to be honest with our customers, letting them know that there's a possibility that the dynamics of the pricing could change with the tariffs. I think everybody in business understands it, but how is it going to impact our business? How is it going to impact the opportunities to grow and to get more work? Is it going to shrink, start slowing down construction and things like that? I think those are questions that we just don't know right now.
Right. Yeah. And I remember back in the COVID days, there was a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of people put stuff in their contracts about if there's uncontrollable circumstances, the fluctuation may change it. I remember there was parts stuck we couldn't even get into our country. And those are similar challenges because of the uncertainty of what could happen with the tariffs. So I guess communication is probably one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle, and trying to be open and honest and upfront with your clients, and those clients hopefully are open and honest and upfront with their clients or their prospects, because inevitably, I remember when I was running my company, Madden Elevator Company, we won jobs, and then is the worst thing in the world to have to go get pricing, and then, it changed, and go back to that prospect that you're trying to close to be a client and say, by the way, we have a hike of 10%. Yeah, we have the information in our terms and conditions, and we have the right to do that and all those pieces, but it doesn't make it any easier.
It doesn't feel good, right? It just doesn't, especially if you weren't upright and honest about it in the front piece. Communication is absolutely the key, and making sure that you let the customer know what may be coming. We've added some verbiage in our quote to protect ourselves and protect our customers as well. But again, the uncertainty is what really is the factor because nobody know what's to come. We've gotten a lot of warnings from some of our vendors that, hey, we're not sure what's going to happen, but we could be. So it's just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it could work its way out and everything will be fine and we'll keep on keeping on, or it could create some real dynamics in the industry that we'll have to fight through for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely uncertain time about that scenario. I mean, one thing that comes to mind when trying to figure out those pieces is there an opportunity to try to pull in a lot of, I guess, material? Obviously, that's an overhead cost. You try to do the best you can to manage that. But as a vendor and a supplier, is that an opportunity to maybe talk to the customers, the clients about, hey, we're going to go ahead and proactively get some stuff to get a better feel for, do you think this could close in the next 30, 60, 90 days? Is there an opportunity there or is that too challenging?
Well, Sean, I will tell you that is an opportunity that we've grasped onto. We've gone out to a lot of customers that we had quotes out to, that were jobs that were working, they're coming, jobs that we had engineering only on, and offered to get these deals closed before the impending changes might happen. It's been a good strategy for us. We've actually brought a few jobs in to kind of get ahead of it, if you will. We've also done some pre-purchasing on jobs that are out there a little bit in our production process so that we get the
Mhm.
steel early before there's any price changes with that, just to get ahead of it a bit. But that's a good short-term solution.
Yeah.
Long-term, it's more of a wait and see happens, right?
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things I remember, one of the elevator companies I was talking to recently, they went at their clients and said, listen, we just want you to know what's going on. We have opportunity to secure permitting, get POs cut to our vendors to start the ball rolling. So if you want to do something in a year, let's start thinking through that and set up a cash flow plan that makes sense. Because I think people are a little hesitant to buy now because they don't know what's going on with some of the pieces of the world. And obviously, tariffs is a big piece of that. So sales is slowing a little bit, but people want and still plan to move forward. So if they have that little incentive opportunity where it's like, okay, how can we think outside the box to deal with the current situation? And so that was an intriguing concept to secure basically the contract and then secure the equipment with POs and then start the ball moving forward because you all then can purchase the stuff you need to get out of the potential change in the tariffs.
Well, that's an interesting thought, but I will say that I've seen on some vendor quotes that have come in that they're not holding the price. So if even after a
Mm,
PO is issued, they're going to impose tariffs if the tariffs come through. So I think people are protecting themselves because that's always a fear. I recently have a job that was released and ready to ship, and I got a notification from a vendor that they were going to impose additional fees on that even before the tariffs really got going. So I think everybody's trying to get ahead of it and protect themselves from those kind of tactics, if you will.
yeah, that's, I guess, from a vendor standpoint, that's not a great position to be in where you have a PO, but you don't have any cash to be able to make purchases. So maybe there's a world where the clients can get the purchasing people to actually spend the money on the equipment to move the ball forward. And then even if you delay like the actual installation piece, maybe something like that would work better.
And that has been a tactic we took. As I mentioned early on, we started reaching out to customers that we knew were getting close and just offering them the opportunity to lock in at that price, right? And we can go ahead and get the engineering done, get the equipment released, get purchase orders made. And even if we have to store it in our manufacturing facility for a period of time, that's better than not knowing what the additional costs might be.
Sure. Do you all charge for storage typically? Yeah.
We do typically charge for storage, but again, it's minimal compared to the
Right.
risk that we're facing with the tariff possibilities could be. Just on the steel side for us, right? We do a lot
Sure.
of the towers are manufactured out of tube steel, and potential for some increases in that for sure. Even though we buy American made steel, the tariffs are going to cause everything to go up pricing wise. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely a big challenge, and I'm sure tariffs is a big conversation point in all kinds of businesses. What other challenges do you see out there in our industry, or that you may be seeing or facing for yourself?
Well, I think from my perspective, and I mentioned this to you before, Sean, I have a largely operational background, but sales is where we're at. We're in a growth mode. We have the facilities and the wherewithal to grow. So that's our goal right now, is to grow revenue. Being out there and really pushing the sales and then having this economic situation come up is everybody's challenge, right? We all have plans that were made largely before a lot of the impacts of what's going on in the world came into place, right? And there's no doubt that we're facing a slowdown in new orders, I would definitely say. That's the other challenge, is we have the unknown pricing increases, but we all have plans to sell to, and making sure that you stay on top of it and find those opportunities. That's the challenge that I face every day. I spend all my time working on it. Where do you find those next opportunities, and how do you bring them in and get them into the backlog, right? So I guess that's everybody's challenge, right? How do you sell and sell it profitably and grow? We are in a growth spurt, and right now the economy's shrinking a bit. So how do you keep that goal of growing going?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a book, The Best Made Plans of Mice and Men. It was one of the fun books I remember early in my career. But no, and what I've seen and heard about the sales and marketing side of the world, and we dealt with a lot of this obviously at Madden Elevator, I think a lot of it is communication and constantly trying to help support people. And I remember telling my salespeople, we don't sell elevator service, we don't sell repairs, we don't sell modernizations, we sell relationships. That's essentially what you're doing, is building those relationships, building that trust. And as far as the products go, Phoenix Modular has an amazing product. You have kind of a niche too, so your market is very niche in terms of finding the right type of client. So that could probably be a little challenging at times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly it. People know we're there because, again, if it's the right application, it's an easy fit. But there's also a lot of other opportunity for us. We're going from the architect presentation side, and we've picked a couple of different subsets of the construction industry that we fit in well with. Modular building is one of them.
Mhm.
Modular building is becoming a big thing in the residential and schooling and office building, hospitality as well. We're working very diligently. And then storage is a huge growth in the construction sector. We see the AC conference and how big it is, and it's amazing as elevator guys. But there's one of those for every subset of construction.
Right.
A few weeks ago, I was in Las Vegas for the World of Modular show, and it was amazing seeing all the different applications that are out there. And then we went to a storage show, and it was the same
Yeah.
thing. So there's so many opportunities to grow into other pieces of the construction side of the business. Like you said, it's really just getting out there and establishing relationships, whether it be with elevator companies, whether it be with architectural firms or general contractors, developers. And that's a challenge, but it's a challenge that I've come to really enjoy. I look at it as that's my sales hat. I get to spend time building those relationships and looking for the next opportunity to sell a bunch of elevators. It's not just trying to sell one here and there. We're looking for the opportunity to develop relationships where we get bookings for the next years.
Yeah, absolutely. And solving those problems. I know we did some elevators with Phoenix Modular back in the Med and Elevator days, and we always recommended to the building owner and architects, hey, here's an alternative solution to consider. And luckily, they did bite on some of those. And oftentimes, it was established buildings where they're adding a hoistway to a school, to a church, to something, and those seem to fit really well. But getting the name out there and making sure that those prospects or even elevator companies can recommend, hey, this is an alternative solution, is sometimes very important. But the marketing piece of that and the sales piece of that, I think a lot is just communication and relationships, continually
Yeah.
building those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
developing relationships and letting people know where we fit. I mean, if you looked at our LinkedIn profile, we have a job in Corinth, Mississippi. It's just a little two-stop golf course. They're expanding, turning the upper floor into some of those Tiger Woods golf machines in a restaurant.
Nice.
He'd been looking to add an elevator. The man that owns the place is also a jeweler. So when I got introduced to him through my friends at WordTech, went down and met with him, and he didn't just want an elevator. He wanted to make a statement. A
Right.
jeweler, right? You need a nice
Yeah.
diamond for his building. So we're doing a beautiful glass back elevator with a,
Nice.
glass hoistway. And it's the perfect application. So want to make sure that people know that, hey, if you're looking to add an elevator to a building, it's a perfect application. But again, if you're in the modular building, or in many cases, putting the elevator and dropping building around it is a great opportunity. So again,
Yeah.
letting people know where we fit, because obviously modular doesn't fit in every application. There's places where it just doesn't work. You're not going to put them in Manhattan and high-rise buildings. It's a great opportunity to get out there and let people know who we are and what we do. I've enjoyed that more than anything else, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that sounds great. A little fun tidbit. I remember we were looking at quoting one of these, and I asked my brother that was quoting it, I said, how do they fit underneath the bridge? It was just a fun joke, but it's like,
Well, imagine when I came in here the first time, and the plumb lines don't work for plumbing the rails when it's laying on its side, right? So,
right,
conceptually, it's the same thing. It's an elevator. We
right.
always say it runs up, down, runs up, runs down, opens and closes the doors. Ours does all that, except we put it in on the sideways. So it's a
Yeah,
conceptually, it's a bit different, but like you said, it's a niche, and they've worked hard over the years to perfect the shipping piece, the building. And that's where I come in, and my relationships, and really just scaling the company. Now we've got all the facilities, everything we need, partnerships in place. I worked really hard to make sure that we don't have just one partner that can let us down on ship dates. We've got two
right.
partners that we can work with in every aspect, so that our goal is to ship in 10 weeks from approved drawings, and set that elevator in place. And in a matter of days, you've got an elevator running up and down the hoistway ready for an inspection. It takes the elevator out of the critical path in many cases, and that's a great way to make an impact, right?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, I sure appreciate it, Chuck. What's one good gold nugget or tidbit you'd like to leave with our listeners, our fellow leaders in our industry?
Well, I'm going to aim this to the young folks in the business. Get involved with trade associations, get involved with the NAAC, participate. Don't become locked into whatever company you're with. Network, be a part of the industry, because it's amazing. As I mentioned before, my first 30 years were with Thyssen, and I never really had the opportunity to network outside of that Thyssen group. And it's a big regret of mine. I go to the NAC and see relationships that have built over 20, 30, 40
Mhm.
years. And I regret that I didn't have the opportunity to get engaged with that earlier on in my career. That would be my biggest advice to people out there getting in the industry, growing in the industry, is to get involved. Be more than just who you are. Be a part of this industry, because it's an amazing group of people, and everybody that I know out there, they're eager to help, willing to support you. I can't tell you, besides yourself and many other people that I've reached out since I've been in this opportunity for advice and things like that, support, just networking, getting in there and knowing people.
That's great advice. The networking piece, when you're younger in the industry, I came up through the field, didn't really think anything about it. When I moved into supervision and management, I got very fortunate that the owner of the small company I was working for, Urban Elevator, Roger Irvin, was and became a mentor of mine, but he was a big advocate on networking. And this is in the late 90s, and that wasn't a big thing back then. He allowed me to go to a lot of events. I got to go to NAC convention and see the floor, and then go to the spring conference and get my QEI, a variety of different things. I went to Dale Carnegie classes and Fred Pryor classes. Not a lot of business owners and leaders think about that, but educating those young people and giving them opportunities to learn and grow like that is going to help keep them in your business, because people want to learn and grow. They don't want to be stagnant forever. So great advice. Get involved. Networking is so much easier nowadays with social media and LinkedIn and all the different platforms to network. So I really appreciate that, Chuck, and I appreciate you being on the show. It's been a great conversation. Thanks for everything you do for our industry. Keep driving it forward, and appreciate your time.
Back at you, Sean. I appreciate you. It was a pleasure to talk with you, and appreciate all you do, buddy.
Absolutely. Have a great day. See ya.
Take it easy.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. Until next time, stay safe out there and I will continue to empower my fellow elevator entrepreneurs.